Okay, we're going to do a fairly informal overview of the HMI touchscreen programming. Just note as well, for our purposes of ours, because we're working on all the time, it's mounted off the wall, but it'll be a flush mount system when it's working and designed properly. So this is more just to show you the functionality of the actual HMI. So with Sean in this cab, and then we'll just do the user experience first, so you can see we can name our own buttons. So we've got the lounge, which is the up. We've got where we are now, which is the factory floor. You've got your stop button. This is a button to key. You press that to open up like a dialog box with a keyboard. And then you've got your emergency stop alarm. The alarm is actually, the speaker is actually set at the controller, not in the cab. So the audio is sent from the controller. We are looking at that to see if that's a viable option. Okay, so we can walk us through.
Yeah, so basically you can press this case, the second floor call. Oh, I got the door open. Right. It actually says cab gate opened at the bottom, and now it's going up. Now, just for the sake of video, I'm going to stop it, and then we'll go back down. There'll be a slight delay. There it goes. Going down.
So at the bottom you get prompted with what the elevator is actually doing.
And we got a big giant
down arrow.
Down arrow. And then target. Okay. Now this pulls up the password, so you can put in a password to lock out the elevator. So if the grandkids are coming or you're having a party, you can lock out the elevator, and then you have to put the code in again to get it back. So then the other thing is the back screen could be changed, the background, and the color of the wording and the fonts and the buttons are all adjustable. So there's a screen for that. So this is just the main screen. You got your background, the names of your floors, and the buttons, and
your dialog.
So here we got, now if we want to go to make changes, there's a secret button up here in the corner. We just hold it here in the corner and let go. You do have to hold it for about 2 or 3 seconds. So now we want to put in a password, so be able to pull up all the features. And secret password. So now we have a cab display, which takes us back to the main screen, and setup and tech info, which will bring us to a bunch of changes. Here we have basically all the drawings, so we can pull up the drawings, the electrical schematics. We'll go back, and so if you're doing a service call and you didn't bring the schematics, you don't have them, you can pull them up here. The motor circuit, and then the service manual. So this is actually like going through this screen, and it goes through all the stuff on the HMI, how it all works. We can go through. So it's basically goes through screen by screen, explaining how the HMI works. Basically what we're doing now. And then the schematics legend is just the main page for the symbology for the drawings. And then down at the bottom is all the good stuff. So we can change the HMI settings. So that's where we can go in and we can change the background picture. You will need a USB for that with the picture on it that you want to put on, or there's a couple defaults. So we can go in and open in image. If we had we can change the background color to a default if we want, and then there we go, and choose the color. So we can just have, instead of that picture of the front of our building, we can have yellow, and now there's going to be a yellow background when we go to the front page. If we had an image on a USB stick, we could open that image and bring it in. We actually changed the main background, the cab font, the floor name, and the buttons. So that's how you change all that. And then config is your main, most of your choices as far as automatic calls or constant pressure mode. Whether you want it to slow down, like do a releveling, and like for 2-speed, and then whether you want it to go leveling only, which is handy if you're adjusting a valve or something, working on the elevator. Whether the light stays on all the time or it's timed. The HMI basically you can plug in one of these screens, a smaller one, in and use it as like a remote. So instead of a cab display, so it's like a tool. So you just have to tell it that you're on a tool, like not on a display in the cab. And then fault bypass during install, you can make it so it doesn't fault on you. Car gates, whether you have them or not. Obviously, if you're not have a cab gate, you probably have a flush opening. Homing, on or off. Locking the floors, so that's to lock out individual floors with a password as opposed to the other password we did earlier. Whether you have a motorized operator or a manual, I just switched it to manual. And the buzzer if the car gate stays open, gate timeout, and whether you have interlocked landings like with a door system. Your front and rear doors you set up here, like if your first floor is front and your back floor is rear for a through cab or a 90. So that's all in here. The other thing is setting up your laser. So that's your positioning system with this is a laser, and you can, when you initially set that up, it's done through here. We won't go through the detail, but it's all in here. And the
drive config is that?
The drive config is here as well, and that has your whether you're hydraulic or winding drum, whether you're using laser switches or tape reader, the number of landings, homing or not, and run timer counter, which
yeah, that run timer counter we'll go over in its own lesson, especially a lot of these features we will, but that one's really going to be handy, especially for the guys like me that are on these companies, because this is where I can actually set how many, if he's been fully paid or not fully paid, not paid yet. And then if he's not paid yet, we can put in a run timer and you can set the number of runs for whatever you want. And if it exceeds that, or if it hits that number, the elevator shuts down and it actually gives an alert box that says something like end of run, maintenance required, or something to that effect. Yeah. So just let's undo that.
And then the other one is timers. So there's, we go back, there's timers, and we can see different door unlock timers, how long lights stay on, run timer, things like that. So they'll be set to default, but you can modify them obviously.
Okay, sorry.
The last one's check IO, which could be handy. It just shows you what all the inputs and outputs are doing, so you can actually see when a door is closed. Oh, sorry.
It's on
when you open and close a door, you can watch the IO change. So it could be definitely handy for tech support for troubleshooting.
Okay, want to just go back to the main screen, see if it went yellow?
Yep.
Yep, ooh, that's very yellow. So it's a really little bit of getting used to, like anything that's more software than mechanical, but once you get a little bit used to it, I've only gone through it once or twice, and it's fairly easy to remember where you're going, and you have a lot of ability to adjust, fine-tune, both cosmetically, performance, timers, leveling. Everything can be done from this panel here, as long as you have your code to get in. Your end user can't do that, obviously. And in order to do that, then you really don't need two people for your final adjustments at an elevator. Once it's up and running and you have this set in, you can walk through all the fine tuning with one person, which makes it really efficient, and then it looks really good. Thanks.